Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here. I have heard so many amazing speeches today, and I'm really excited to share mine. So let me ask you a question. When you think of the word world changer, who do you think of? Martin Luther King, he had a dream. Mother Teresa, she healed so many. Abraham Lincoln, he changed a nation. Jesus, he taught us to love. And one of my personal favorites, Maya Angelou, her words touched our heart. And yes, these are all world changers. They started movements. They made a difference. They affected millions. Yet when I think of a world changer, that's not who I think of. To me, it's the woman I watched go out of her way. She bought groceries for the homeless man. It's my neighbor on the day I wasn't feeling good who brought me a meal. It's the invisible volunteer setting up chairs and making coffee in the back of the room where a nonprofit meets. They're every week and no one ever notices them. It's the stranger who smiled at me on the day I was feeling invisible. These are all world changers. People like you, me, us. Because the truth is, we may never stand on a global stage. We may never be in the Oval Office. We won't affect millions. Yet, we can change the world. I want to share a story, something that happened about 10 years ago, and it still sticks with me. It was an ordinary day. I was tired, and I went to a Chick-fil-A drive-thru to buy food for my dinner for my family. And as I drove through that drive-thru, got up to the window, I handed the cashier my credit card. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh, that's okay. The car in front of you paid for your meal." It's like, wow, that's really cool. And without really thinking about it, I handed her my credit card and said, "Well, pay for the car behind me." I didn't think about, I hope he didn't order too much. None of that entered my mind. It was a natural reaction. And after she handed my card back, she looked at me and she said, "This has been going on for 4 hours." 4 hours. That one random act of kindness affected hundreds of people. It created a ripple. And to paraphrase Bobby Kennedy, you don't need a big wave to create a tidal wave. You just need millions and millions of ripples. So how do you change the world? One ordinary person doing an extraordinary thing. An ordinary person doing an extraordinary thing. Yet how do you change the world? Well, for me, it comes down to 3 simple steps. The first step is love. We've heard a lot about love today, so we know it's important. The second step is belief. And the third step, action. I'm going to talk about all of them a little bit more. Let's start with love. Love is the greatest gift. Love changes everything. There's a reason that millions of songs are written about love. And the most important love is self-love. When you love yourself, you can change the world. Because we all know you can't pour from an empty cup. And self-love allows you to claim your power. When you love yourself, you know you can make a difference. So self-love is so important. And it's more than self-love. We also need to love others. Romantic love, family love, our love for all mankind. There's so many kinds of love. I want to tell you a silly story. My son Hunter's 21, and I remember when he was first born. I was amazed at the type of unconditional love I had for that child. I had never felt love before that, holding that baby in my arms. It was incredible. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't have another baby. They'll never be able to love him, have enough love for him. Silly, I know. Those of you with multiple kids know that's not the case. But I felt like love we had a limited supply, and we don't. Love is infinite, and the more we give it away, the more we have. We can love everyone, and we can change the world. The second step is belief. Once you have love, you need to believe. You need to believe you can change the world. You need to believe that everything's possible. Belief helps you find your purpose. I'll tell you a little story that helped me find that I had a purpose. It was back when I was 19 or 20 years old. I was a freshman in college. My little sister had been in a really bad accident a few months before I left for school. She had been in a coma, and she was never going to be the same. And it was really difficult to go away to college and leave her and leave my parents home. And I was coming home from college. It was the first time I had been home, and I was excited. It was a Friday night, and I was driving up the New Jersey Turnpike. Unfortunately, it was pouring rain, and it was dark, and it was around rush hour, and I was a stupid college kid, so I was driving faster than I should have. I remember I was excited to get home. Prince was playing on the radio, Little Red Corvette, and I'm bopping along to the music. My mom had cooked dinner. Lasagna. I could almost smell it. I wanted to get home. And suddenly my car hit a puddle, and I started to skid. And I couldn't stop the skid. I tried to remember what to do. Nothing worked. And my car started to spin. And I found myself looking into headlights, seeing these cars come towards me. It was only a few seconds, but it felt like hours as I watched my life pass before my eyes. And all I could think about was, God, please don't let me die. My parents can't take another accident. I was praying to survive, and I was bracing for impact. And suddenly I found myself on the right shoulder. And I'm not dead. I'm not hurt. Nothing happened. And I thought, I must have caused an accident. I looked over at the highway expecting to see a major pileup. Nothing. Somehow I went across 4 lanes of traffic, did a 360-degree turn, rush hour traffic near Newark Airport on a busy Friday night in the pouring rain. Nothing happened. It was truly divine intervention. And at that moment, I knew I had a purpose. Now, it took me another 40 years to figure out what that purpose was. But I always knew I had a purpose, and it kept me going. And now I know my purpose is to help change the world, to help people, ordinary people, do extraordinary things, become extraordinary people. So that's belief. The third step is action. Because without action, you just have intention. Action makes it real. Action is where every thought, every smile, everything we do can make a difference. Now, we just heard Mackenzie share her story about the starfish. When we were doing the scavenger hunt, when we got to LA, she shared that story with our group about how a little boy was picking up starfish, throwing them into the ocean, and a man asked him, "Why are you doing that? You're not going to make a difference." And the little boy threw one in the ocean and said, "I made a difference for that one." He took action. Well, when we got here to Fiji, it was beautiful. It was a gorgeous day. And I went for a walk on the beach. And I'm walking on the beach. I'm looking down, looking at the shells on the ground. And I saw a starfish. It was perfect. Bent down, I picked it up. I really thought it was dead. I expected it to be hard and brittle. It wasn't. And I took that starfish and I tossed it in the ocean so it would live. And suddenly it occurred to me, I was that little boy. I made a difference. I made a difference to that starfish. And that's how we change the world. It doesn't have to be a massive difference. It doesn't have to be a big step. It's doing something extraordinary. It's ordinary people taking an extraordinary step. People like you, people like me, people like us. Because together, we can change the world. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things, creating extraordinary lives. And that extraordinary life can be yours. Thank you. Thank you.